I wish you'd just look at somebody and say, I was staggering a while ago, but now I'm standing on my faith. Yeah. Because that's how life is. One moment you're staggering. One moment it looks like you're going down for the count. But all you need is one word from the Lord. And once you receive that one word from the Lord, even though it looked like you was going to be counted out, suddenly you find yourself standing on your faith. Having done all, just stand. Having gone through everything that you could possibly gone through, having endured everything that you could possibly endure, you're now able to stand on your faith. And in Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1, it lets us know that Habakkuk is standing on his faith with a look of examination. You've got to get that this morning. It says that he's standing on his faith with a look of examination. 2:1 says, I will stand my watch. Habakkuk understood that no matter what he may have desired, no matter what he may have wanted for Judah, no matter what he may have said to Judah, Habakkuk understood that ultimately Psalm 127 was right when it declared, except the Lord builds the city. The builder, he's working in vain, except the Lord watches over the city. The watchman is watching and working, but in vain. Except the Lord keeps the city. All his efforts would be in vain. And so when he says that I will stand my watch, ultimately he's saying, I'm just going to rest in the Lord, and I'm going to trust that the Lord will see me through, that the Lord will bring me through. Have you ever come to a point in your life that's all you could do? Would just say, I have to trust in the Lord. I don't know who I'm talking to this morning, but that's where you are right now. That says, I have no other choice but to trust in the Lord. My friends can't bail me out of this one. I don't have no other choice but to trust and believe that God will see me through. I wish there was somebody here that had radical faith this morning that says, I'm going through, but God will bring me through. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I'm going through, but God's going to bring me through. So he says that I'm determined to stand watching. I'm determined to watch how God will bring me through. And in fact, in verse 1, Habakkuk is determined to see things from God's view. I want to tell you, that's the best view to look at things from God's view, because sometimes we get in trouble trying to figure it out and trying to look at it with our own eyes. But if ever we could learn to walk by faith and not by sight and begin to see things as God would have us to see it, then we'll understand that, weeping may endure for a season, but joy is bound to come in the morning. Habakkuk is determined to see things from God's view. But Habakkuk 2:1 also lets us know that not only is he standing on his faith with a look of examination, but he's standing on his faith from a point or place of elevation. I like that, he's standing on his faith, with examination, but he's also standing on his faith from a point or a place of elevation. Now, look what he said in verse 1, I will set myself on the rampart. The rampart was an upward slope. It was a place of elevation. It was a place of isolation. And so what Habakkuk is saying is, if I'm going to see what God is getting ready to do, then I have to come up from where I am right now. If I'm going to make sense of what I'm going through, then I cannot keep running around in this same old circle that I've been running around in. But I've got to elevate myself. And I don't know who I'm talking to this morning, but if ever you're to see what God really wants to do in your life, there comes a time when you got to say, I've got to move away from this crowd, and I've got to get away and get all by myself. I've got to elevate from where I am so that I can try to see what God wants me to see. He says, I'm going to set myself up on the rampart. He says, I got to pull myself away from this crowd. And that's what I want to tell somebody, that if you're going to see what God wants to do in your life, if you're going to make sense of what you're going through, then every now and then you've got to see things from a place of elevation. Every now and then you've got to pull yourself away from the crowd. crowd and say, I love you, and we'll do brunch and we'll do lunch later on. But right now, I've just got to have some alone time with God. Right now, I need a word from the Lord. Right now, I don't have time for games. Right now, I don't have time for playing. Right now, I don't have time for the minor things. Right now, I need a word from the Lord. Right now, when I see all that's going on, I can't keep doing business as usual. I've got to elevate myself. And so he says, I've got to pull myself away from the crowd. And I'm simply trying to tell somebody this morning that means that every now and then you've got to press ignore when somebody texts you because you're trying to get to a place of elevation. I'm trying to tell somebody every now and then when they call you, you've got to press ignore because I'm trying to get a word from the Lord. And I won't hear what the Lord is trying to tell me if I keep talking to you on the phone. You got problems, I got problems. Somebody got to hang up the phone and get in touch with Jesus. Somebody got to get a word from the Lord, because if I get a word from the Lord, not only will it set me free, but it might just be a word that will set you free. So do me a favor, hang up the phone. I'm trying to get elevated. Every now and then, you got to ignore the email. I tell somebody, I know it's hard, but every now and then, you've got to ignore the email. Every now and then, you've got to come off Twitter. Every now and then, you've got to come off Facebook. Every now and then, you've got to come off MySpace. Every now and then, you've got to stop worrying about who's trying to two-way page you. Every now and then, you've got to block out everything and everybody else. Don't have time to feed the dog. Don't have time to feed the goldfish. Don't have time to feed myself. I just want to usher myself into the presence of the Lord because I need a word from the Lord. And so Habakkuk says, I'm standing on my faith from a point and place of elevation. But then lastly, Habakkuk and 2:1 is standing on his faith through expectation. God, I like that. Yeah, he's standing on his faith with a look of examination. He's looking at everything that's going on around him. But he also is standing on his faith from a place of elevation. He says, I won't get it down here, but if I can move up here, I'll better understand it. But then he's also standing on his faith through expectation. Look what he says. I will watch to see what God will say to me. I will wait on God's answer. Habakkuk says, God will show up and give me a word. Is that good news for somebody this morning? That I don't care what you're going through. If you can just have a spirit of expectation and believe that God will show up, then God will show up and answer your prayer. He will show up and make a way out of no way. He will show up and deliver you in due season. And so as Habakkuk is standing, as Habakkuk is positioning himself, as Habakkuk is watching the land, as Habakkuk is waiting for God to reply, God responds in an unusual way. Every now and then God will respond in an unusual way. He responds in verses 2 and 3. God says, Habakkuk, I have informed you what I'm getting ready to do. I just need you now to believe that I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. So he says, Habakkuk, as you're standing, as you position yourself, as you're watching the land, as you're waiting on me, he says, I want you to also begin to write. He says, write the vision, make it plain, make it simple. And then he concludes in verse 3 and says, though it tarries, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. How about the shout on that word right there? Look what he says, that I'm getting ready to speak something into your life, and I'm getting ready to bring it to fruition. But you need to understand that though it tarries, wait for it.